The Hollows of Hecolst. I don't like the South, never have. Something about the heat down there makes rot come quicker. Meat spoils faster. Wounds go bad overnight. Men start thinking sideways. This isn't all from my own eyes. I've never marched a contract into Hecolst lands proper. The captain never took us that far, said things weren't right down there. Still, you hear things. Some of it came from soldiers who drifted north after deserting their banners. Men with carved flesh and altered eyes. Some of it came from slaves who ran until their feet split open and they had to crawl. Some of it came from merchants who watched entire caravans vanish into dust storms and never asked questions again. The lands of the Hecklest kingdom. They don't worship gods like everyone else. They don't kneel. They don't pray for mercy or good harvests or forgiveness. They don't even ask their gods for help. They want to replace them. They call it ascension, becoming more than meat, carving divinity out of suffering and depth and blood. And they believe the earth itself is the ladder. So they dig, not like miners, not like fools scraping rock for silver. They dig straight down, no slope, no sense. Just massive, perfect circles cut into the land like someone pressed a seal into the world and twisted. They call them the Hollows. I've heard men say you can see them from miles off. Flat land, scrub, heat haze, and then suddenly a black circle eating the horizon, wide as a city, wider than some of the great keeps. No fences, no railings, just open space and nothing beneath it. You walk closer and your feet start to itch, like your body knows something your head hasn't caught up to yet. The edges are clean, too clean. Smooth stone walls descending straight into black, no jagged rock, no natural breaks, like the earth agreed to be opened. Then you smell it, sweat layered over sweat, old blood soaked into wood, shit, rot, wet stone, and something sharp under it all that makes your teeth ache. Not iron, something colder. They build scaffolding down the sides, thick beams bolted into the rock, platforms stacked on platforms, rope ladders, chains, lifts hauled by teams of slaves and beasts above. The chains are thick as a man's thigh and polished smooth from use. There's always movement, always someone going down, rarely someone coming up. Torches vanish after a few dozen yards. The light just dies. Men swear the dark down there eats it. They build towns around the rims. Starts with shacks, then walls, then temples, whole settlements hanging over nothing. People live their whole lives listening to picks strike stone and screams echoing up from below. Children grow up staring into the pit. They learn early not to throw stones. Hecklest believes the earth hides the remains of a god called Ulra, not a dead god, a butchered one. They say Ulra was too large to be killed clean, too old, too powerful, so the gods tore it apart instead, ripped it limb from limb and buried the pieces beneath the world so no one could ever gather them again. Hecklest doesn't believe that part. They believe the gods lied to keep men small. They think if you find a piece of Ulra, an arm, a leg, a hand, even a finger, and consume it, something changes. Strength, endurance, sight, thought, power that bends the body wrong but lifts the soul closer to divinity. They don't call it corruption. They call it refinement. They found an arm once. That much is true. 20 or so years ago. Not a statue, not a bone shard, a full arm, bigger than a siege tower, flesh intact, preserved like it hadn't rotted a day since the world began, veins black as pitch, skin pale and thick like cured leather, bone that rang when struck, like a bell buried in meat. They brought it up in pieces, took weeks, lost dozens hauling it. Men crushed by chains, men pulled screaming into the dark when hooks slipped. When it finally reached the surface, the priests sang until their throats bled. After that, their king vanished, didn't die, didn't abdicate, didn't leave a corpse. He went down into the hollow with his household priests and guards and never came back up. After that, the quotas increased. More slaves, more pits, more hollows carved across the south like a disease spreading. They feed the pits with people. Criminals first, then debtors, then villages, whole towns sentenced when they can't meet grain tithes or tax demands. Slave armies marched south in chains, old men, children, mothers, anyone who could still swing a pick or carry a basket. Most die in the first week. The work kills them fast. Lifts fail. Chains snap. Men fall for long seconds before the sound stops. Picks break and take hands with them. Platforms give way where they shouldn't. Cave-ins happen in stone that should be solid. Some slaves panic in the dark and jump. Some stop moving and have to be pried loose when they freeze to the scaffolds. Those are the clean deaths. The others come later. Men come back changed, if they come back at all. Some return missing skin in patches like it was peeled away slow. Some have eyes filmed over white. Some won't speak. Some laugh and can't stop. A few bite when touched and have to be killed with hammers. I heard of one slave who came up with his spine bent sideways, like something had leaned on him for a long time. He lived 3 days, spent all of them screaming about hands in the walls. They say the deeper pits stopped finding relics and started finding guardians. No one explains what that means clearly. Some pits go so deep the air changes, breathing hurts, sound bends. Men swear the walls pulse, that scaffolds creak even when no one's on them, that the stone feels warm in places. They send slaves down anyway. They always send more. The story goes that the king of Hecolst had 2 sons, both grown, both raised on sermons about ascension and flesh and suffering having meaning, not princes in silk. These were men who watched slaves break their backs before they could read, men who learned early that power came from endurance, not kindness. When the king went down into the hollow and didn't come back up, the sons didn't mourn. They vowed. That's what the South does. They don't grieve. They swear oaths. They went into the pits after him, not together at first, not right away. They organized expeditions, sent priests, sent guards, sent whole shifts of slaves down with orders to search older tunnels, sealed shafts, places the scaffolds no longer reached. Nothing came back but bones and stories. Then the sons became desperate. They had the arm brought to their keep. That's where the mistake happened. They didn't eat it whole. They argued, they debated, then they shared it. That's not how ascension works, if it works at all. They cut the arm apart, burned pieces, boiled others, ground bone into powder, mixed it with blood and ash, and swallowed it in pieces over days instead of all at once. Priests blessed it, screamed over it. Some died just being near it. The sons lived, but wrong. The first son was Broomskosh. He was the stronger one before, taller, broad, a fighter, the kind of man who breaks doors instead of opening them. The relic didn't make him divine. It made him more hunger, more flesh, more weight. He ate his portions of the arm at the bottom of the hollow where it was originally found. Thought it meant something. He grew fast, too fast. His body didn't know where to put it all. Fat piled over muscle until they fused. Skin stretched until it split and healed wrong. His legs thickened until they bowed. His spine curved. His jaw widened until speech became a grunt. They say he couldn't climb out of the pit anymore once it finished. Too big, too heavy, too changed. He took a halberd from an ancient monument, not one meant for his size, and bent the shaft thicker with his hands. When the priests realized he wasn't coming back up, they tried to restrain him. That lasted about a minute. Broomskosh didn't kill clean. He smashed men into walls until there was nothing left to recognize. He broke chains and used them to drag screaming slaves behind him. He learned the tunnels, learned where sound carried, learned where men hid when they thought they were safe. The hollow became his. Slaves stopped coming back up from that shaft entirely. Lifts went down and came back empty. Chains snapped. Hooks returned with meat stuck to them. The overseers halted all entry. They say he sits in the depths now, surrounded by bones, stacked like furniture. That he eats when he wants and kills when he's bored. That something else answers him from deeper still. They call it the kingdom below. The other son was Telento. He went the opposite way. Where Broomskosh grew outward, Telento thinned. His body tightened, his ribs showed, his limbs lengthened until they bent wrong at the joints. His skin went pale and tight like parchment stretched too far. His eyes went first. Not blindness, something worse. He stopped focusing on the world in front of him. He listened to things no one else could hear. Spoke to places in the room instead of people. Sometimes answered questions before they were asked. They put an iron dome over his head eventually, said it calmed him, kept the voices out. I think it was to keep people from seeing his face. They say his wings tore out of his back during the change. Not feathers, flesh stretched thin and ruined, useless things that dragged behind him when he moved. Telento didn't fight. He didn't need to. He changed men. Not with words, with proximity. Guards standing too close would forget how long they'd been there. Servants would lose hours, sometimes days. Some forgot their names. Some forgot which way was up. Time around him slipped, not fast, just wrong. When the court started to fracture, Telento did something clever. He bled, not by accident. He let his closest guards drink it, or force them. Just a little. Enough to pass something on. The royal guards changed, grew taller. Their backs hunched, their arms lengthened, fingers thickened into claws. Their movements became wrong, too fast in short bursts, too low to the ground. They stopped speaking, started moaning when they stood still. They fought like animals. They obeyed without question. Telento paid for it. Every guard he changed took something from him, his strength, his sight, his balance. By the time they finished, he couldn't stand without help, couldn't see at all, could barely lift his head. So they kept him on the new throne, a welded thing of scrap metal, stone, bone, and old scaffolding parts. Bolted together sloppy, anchored to the floor so it couldn't tip when he twitched. That's where he rules, blind, broken, whispering orders that echo backwards in the chamber. The hollows kept digging, the sons never reunited. Broomskosh howls from below, they say. The sound comes up some nights like thunder trapped underground. Telento answers without knowing he does, speaking orders that send more slaves down, deeper, closer. They haven't stopped. They won't. Because Hecolst doesn't see this as failure. They see it as proof. One son became a god of flesh. The other became a god of kings. And neither was whole. That's the lesson they teach. Ascension costs, and they are willing to pay it with everyone else. I don't know about the full truth. I know men don't lie that consistently. And I know this. If either of those things ever climb out of their lairs, the South won't matter anymore. Neither will the North, and neither will men like me.